Vernon Vibes is brought to you in part by United Water, the official water company of Vernon Township. United Water, involved in the communities they serve.
The Vernon Independent Retailers Association reminds you that when you shop locally, you're helping to build our community by supporting local employment and keeping your tax dollars in our community. Support the Vernon Independent Retailers who support you. Brought to you by The Copy Center, H&H Auto Parts, Healthy Times Market, Heaven Hill Farm, Lakeland Pool and Spa, McAfee Ski and Snowboard, Valley Paint and Hardware, and Vernon Tire and Auto Center. Come in, we're local.
Hi, I'm Shannon Sweeney. I've been a player or coach for most of my life, and I understand the need to keep our kids motivated and safe. As a parent and coach, I also understand the need to make sure our children are protected. That's why insurance is as an important part of the game as a good coach is. I've known my fellow coach, Wayne Dietz, for 10 years. I've seen him motivate and inspire players both on and off the floor. I've also seen him make sure that our children are safe by making sure that the teams are properly insured. As a coach, we don't often think about insurance, and when you work with Wayne and his team at D&H Risk Solutions, you won't have to. They take care of everything with honesty and integrity so that you can focus on what you do best, coaching your team to victory.
Good evening and welcome to Vernon Vibes. As always, it's my pleasure to visit with you and to have an opportunity to share with you some of the goings on about town, what's happening in your local government. And I want to get right to it in this evening's edition, frankly, because we haven't had a whole lot on the community calendar segment of our show over the last several shows, but this show, we're loaded. So let's start. I would like to call to your attention that Saturday, May 23rd, between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m., the Vernon Chamber of Commerce is sponsoring their first annual street fair. And that street fair will take place on the new Main Street, which will be closed to traffic, and there will indeed be all kinds of local businesses, nonprofits, clubs, organizations, food, things for the kids to do. It's going to be a great family day the Saturday before Memorial Day. And while we are aware that many folks will vacation or take a mini vacation over the Memorial Day weekend, what we have found is that there's even a larger number who like to stay close to home. And so if you're looking around for something to do on Saturday, the 23rd, from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m., come on out and join the first annual Vernon Township Chamber of Commerce Street Fair. I know that it'll be a great time, and I know that you'll have an opportunity again to meet with your friends, your family, and the people in Vernon Township, which keeps this such a vibrant community. And speaking of Memorial Day weekend, of course, this year the Memorial Day Parade will again occur in Vernon under the auspices of Vernon's VFW. That parade starts at the Dairy Queen on Route 94 and travels north along 94 to a left on Church Street, to its end, to a left on the Vernon Crossing Road, and meets its terminus at the Veterans Memorial Park. I'd like to invite all residents to come out and pay their tribute to those who have given the supreme sacrifice in behalf of our freedom, that being our veterans who have lost their life serving their country. So Memorial Day proper is Monday the 25th. The parade will come off as always. I've noticed in recent years that the turnout by Vernon residents seems to be growing. I'd like to encourage you all to, in fact, make that continue. Come on out, it's a great time. The music in the parade is good, and you get to see all of the different organizations, and of course, as I always like to do, be part of that parade and have an opportunity to speak to you at Veterans Park. I've been invited by the VFW to say a few words, and I'm honored by that. I'll look forward to seeing you there. In addition, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about some things that are happening in the county, but they impact us here in Vernon. On June 4th, at 1:30 in the afternoon, at the Sparta Senior Center, there will be the annual public meeting on the needs of the County of Sussex and their seniors. If you're a senior and you have a need or have a thought as to what might improve the kinds of services that the Sussex County Department of Human Services provide, that's your time. It's 1:30 at the Sparta Senior Center, which is in the Knoll housing complex there close to the intersection of Main Street and the 517 bypass. So put it on your calendar. It's your chance to let your voice be heard concerning those issues in Sussex County that affect all of us, all of our seniors, myself included. I also would like to point out to you on June 4th from 5 until 8 p.m. at the Chatterbox Restaurant, State Route 15 in Augusta, is Sussex County's Chatterbox Bike Night for veterans. This is a gathering that is really grown. It's in honor of our veterans, and in fact, there'll be informational exhibits by the county agencies and service agencies. There'll be entertainment and refreshments. And again, this particular program is sponsored by the Sussex County Department of Human Services and also the Municipal Alliance and the Sussex County Veterans Committee. So if you like Thursday, June 4th from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m., turn out at the Chatterbox. It's a great night, and it's a nice way of letting our veterans know that we appreciate them. On June 6th, the Sussex County Municipal Utility Authority will be conducting a household hazardous waste event. That's Saturday, June 6th, from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. at its facility located on Route 94 in Lafayette. On that date, at that time, residents can bring for disposal up to 100 pounds of any household hazardous waste materials, 25 fluorescent bulbs and or 10 gallons of liquid waste free of charge. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a time when you want to look around your house, make some decisions as to whether or not you need some of those chemicals that have been sitting in bottles in your garage or your basement. And if you don't, and if you feel that you would like to dispose of them, but you don't know how to do it legally or effectively or inexpensively, this is the answer. Some of the materials that are acceptable include lead-based paint, oil-based paints, stains, varnishes, turpentines, paint thinner, muriatic acid, sulfuric acid, old gasoline, fuel oil tank fluid, kerosene, lighter fluid, as well as many others. So if you've got any of those things sitting around the house, and you may not even be aware that they have to be disposed of in a very careful manner in order as to not cause pollution and be subject to fines and the like, this is a great service from the Sussex County MUA, and I would again encourage you. That's Saturday, June 6th, from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. in the afternoon. Bring your things there. They'll take care of them the right way. And we won't have to worry about them polluting our lakes and streams and all the rest. One of the big events of the year for Vernon Township is Vernon Day. And on Sunday, June 7th, from 12 noon until 5 p.m., come on out, celebrate Vernon Day. It's a free event for the family, and invite your friends and your neighbors. Come join us for an afternoon filled with community fun. This is one of those events that frankly has been a highlight for me in the time that I've served as your mayor. I get the opportunity to just wander through and visit with residents and answer questions sometimes and just sometimes tell a joke and enjoy ourselves. It's a great way to spend an afternoon. There's plenty to do. And by the way, the Vernon Day program is actually kicked off early that morning, okay, at 7:30. Registration for the annual, and this is the 5th annual Vernon Day 5K and 1 mile walk. Registration, as I said, and check-in time is at 7:30 a.m. that morning. The race starts at 9 in the morning. And by the way, Vernon Day and the 5K, Vernon Day 5K and 1 mile walk are rain or shine. So put it on your calendar, plan to be there. I know you've heard me talk about it in the past. It has not disappointed, and each year it gets bigger and better. The number of vendors, the number of displays, the number of exhibits, there's plenty to do. And there's great food, and of course there's great company and lots for the youngsters to do too at Maple Grange Park, Sunday, June 7th. I hope to see you there. And to close off your day on the 7th of June, there is a thank you service that's being held at the St. Thomas Episcopal Church. And that thank you for your service is aimed at honoring our veterans. It is going to be actually a concert. The Community Choral Society presents their spring concert, Thank You for Your Service, at 3 p.m. in the afternoon on Sunday, June 7th at the St. Thomas Episcopal Church, Route 94, Vernon, New Jersey. That's the one across from the Highland State Bank on Route 94. Tickets for that are $8. Children under 12 are free, as well as any active military personnel and veterans are free. I can tell you from having attended in the past, the Community Choral Society is excellent music, and I know that you will enjoy that performance and at the same time have an opportunity to say thanks to our veterans. Well, that wraps up the community calendar for this edition, and we'll be back in just a minute.
Vernon Vibes is brought to you in part by United Water, the official water company of Vernon Township. United Water, involved in the communities they serve.
The Vernon Independent Retailers Association reminds you that when you shop locally, you're helping to build our community by supporting local employment and keeping your tax dollars in our community. Support the Vernon Independent Retailers who support you. Brought to you by The Copy Center, H&H Auto Parts, Healthy Times Market, Heaven Hill Farm, Lakeland Pool and Spa, McAfee Ski and Snowboard, Valley Paint and Hardware, and Vernon Tire and Auto Center. Come in, we're local.
Hi, I'm Shannon Sweeney. I've been a player or coach for most of my life, and I understand the need to keep our kids motivated and safe. As a parent and coach, I also understand the need to make sure our children are protected. That's why insurance is as an important part of the game as a good coach is. I've known my fellow coach, Wayne Dietz, for 10 years. I've seen him motivate and inspire players both on and off the floor. I've also seen him make sure that our children are safe by making sure that the teams are properly insured. As a coach, we don't often think about insurance, and when you work with Wayne and his team at D&H Risk Solutions, you won't have to. They take care of everything with honesty and integrity so that you can focus on what you do best, coaching your team to victory.
Welcome back. The timeliness of this week's program, I think, is excellent. And there are two issues that I'd like to speak to you about before we end this program. So I'm going to start with the first one. Earlier this week, the former mayor of this community wrote a letter to the editor, which was published in the Herald, claiming that this administration, and in particular this mayor, is borrowing money to run this town. Ladies and gentlemen, nothing could be further from the truth. Yes, there is scheduled for the meeting of May 28th, a second reading on an ordinance that would allow Vernon Township to, in fact, do some financing. $1.5 million worth of bonding, which, by the way, the last time that we bought a ban had an interest rate less than 0.5%. That particular ban that's being considered on March 28th is designed to fund two major projects during calendar year 2015. The first is the reclamation and repair of Lake Walkill Road. And of the $1.5 million of this ban that's being requested, bond anticipation note, approximately $735,000 of it will go toward that project. I know you recently read in the paper, and I know that I spoke to you on a previous Vernon Vibes about how fortunate we were through the efforts of Senator Oroho to obtain a discretionary grant from the New Jersey DOT in the amount of $227,000 to put toward that project, which would allow us, frankly, to do 2/3 of what originally we had planned to be a 3-year program. We can do 2/3 of it this year using this particular mechanism. The other major part of the ban that's being proposed is the construction of a salt shed for storage. Now, we just came through two of the longest and I think most brutal winters vis-a-vis plowing, sanding, salting. And in both of those years, Vernon Township, along with other communities in northwestern New Jersey, faced a shortage of salt, not because it wasn't available. Last year they said it wasn't available. This year it was that the storms came in too fast, the truckers couldn't get it out soon enough, the dock workers are on strike. It was any number of excuses, but here's the bottom line. We in Vernon Township have always appropriated enough money and planned to have the resources we need to, in fact, plow and clear our streets effectively. And you can't do it if you can't get the salt that you've consumed. Now, every year that I've been the mayor, we've filled the salt shed at the beginning of the season. The salt shed here holds about 3,000 tons. On average, on an average winter, we use somewhere close to 6,000 tons, and the most we've ever used was 8,000 tons. So, we presently have included in the bond that is up for decision by the town council the construction of a salt shed, storage shed on our property here at 1 Riggs Way, which would allow us to store 6,000 tons of salt if we chose to do that. And why is that important? Because frankly, our budget is struck usually by May. We could begin to buy the salt right now if we had a salt shed, and we could stock it and not have to ever worry about, I shouldn't say ever, rarely worry about whether or not we're going to have the materials we need to do the job properly for you. Those two capital investments that I'm speaking of are part of the entire program that this administration has put into place in the 4 years that we have been here, and that is very simple. Yes, we do in fact finance and borrow money and have done it on an annual basis, but what is missing in the former mayor's letter to the editor is how much we pay down. The fact of the matter is that the bonded indebtedness is lower in Vernon Township than it was when I took office in 2011, because we have set in place a strategy that if we borrow $1 million, we pay back 2. Now, look, it may be 1.9 or maybe 2.1, but the point I'm making to you is every year that this administration has been in place, we have paid down more debt than we have taken on. And secondly, the headline of her letter, Township Borrows to Run. Someone who was the mayor in this township for 18 months, which is what Mrs. Rinker was the mayor for before the voters turned her out, should know you cannot use capital funding to run your township. Now, here's the question I have for her. If we are not to bond this, how are we to fix Lake Walk Hill Road? Just what are you going to tell those people who for 30 years have waited for somebody to do something about it, and we're doing something about it now, okay? I recommend every one of you people watching this show that you let your council know that it's important to fix that road. It has not been fixed in 30 years. I've driven it enough, I've been there enough, I've been through the analysis, I know what the costs are, and we can't afford to fix it without driving your tax rate up. And what about the salt shed? Just like the other capital projects that we have borrowed for, which include the entire paving of Canister Road, the repaving of Breakneck Road, the repair and actually reconstruction of the intersection of 517 Maple Grange and Lonsbury Hollow Road. In addition to that, all of the other ancillary work that we've done on the secondary and tertiary streets, we're already 40% through our maintenance program and will and can continue on the plan that we have to in fact upgrade them. So, if your message, Mrs. Rinker, is turn out and don't and somehow or another convince the council not to spend that money, I think that it demonstrates clearly either a lack of understanding on your part or a willingness to say anything to get elected mayor again. I'll be back in just a minute.
Vernon Vibes is brought to you in part by United Water, the official water company of Vernon Township. United Water, involved in the communities they serve.
The Vernon Independent Retailers Association reminds you that when you shop locally, you're helping to build our community by supporting local employment and keeping your tax dollars in our community. Support the Vernon Independent Retailers who support you. Brought to you by The Copy Center, H&H Auto Parts, Healthy Times Market, Heaven Hill Farm, Lakeland Pool and Spa, McAfee Ski and Snowboard, Valley Paint and Hardware, and Vernon Tire and Auto Center. Come in, we're local.
Hi, I'm Shannon Sweeney. I've been a player or coach for most of my life, and I understand the need to keep our kids motivated and safe. As a parent and coach, I also understand the need to make sure our children are protected. That's why insurance is as an important part of the game as a good coach is. I've known my fellow coach, Wayne Dietz, for 10 years. I've seen him motivate and inspire players both on and off the floor. I've also seen him make sure that our children are safe by making sure that the teams are properly insured. As a coach, we don't often think about insurance, and when you work with Wayne and his team at D&H Risk Solutions, you won't have to. They take care of everything with honesty and integrity so that you can focus on what you do best, coaching your team to victory.
Welcome back. Just to put an exclamation point on the last segment, everything that I have said to you is documentable and in fact was presented during budget hearings and was presented in the newspaper, or was supposed to be. The weeklies covered it. I don't remember if the Herald did or not. It's not important. We did a segment here on Vernon Vibes about it. It is no secret that this administration has lowered our debt, increased our cash surplus, lowered your taxes, and did not have to cut services. That's good management. And it really helps me segue into the next issue I want to talk to you about, because about the time that you're going to be seeing this, you probably should be in the mode of making a decision as to, one, are you going to vote on June 2nd in the party primaries? And two, if you are going to vote in the party primaries, who are you going to vote for? First, let's speak to the first issue. Historically, Vernon Township has been, like the rest of the country, lackadaisical in attending to the issue of your responsibility as a citizen to vote. Except for the presidential election, the recent presidential election, in which 9,000 of the 15,000 registered voters in Vernon actually voted in that election, we average between 3,000 and 4,000 people voting in the primaries and the general elections out of 15,500 registered voters. Now, you can talk to me about how you're disappointed, you're disgusted, I don't vote because I don't trust politicians, all those things that I have heard. But ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, you are responsible for who sits in this seat, the council seat, and all the other elected seats. And if you don't vote, then you cede your right to impact. Your vote really does count. I've seen people rise up and go to the ballot box and affect good change. I'm someone who believes that you should vote every opportunity. It's not only your right, and people died to give you that right, our veterans in many, many wars to give us our freedom to be able to vote, but it's your responsibility also. Please take it seriously and go to the polls. And let's for the moment talk about what's at stake in this primary. There is an election for the 2 assembly seats for the 24th Legislative District in the State Assembly in Trenton. There are 4 candidates that are running. There are 2 freeholder seats that are up for election. And again, of those 2, there are 4 freeholder candidates running in the Republican primary. I would encourage you, nay, I would strongly but humbly urge you to look past the kinds of rhetoric that you see on the mailers and the like declaring, I'm the most conservative, and begin to look specifically at what each of those individual candidates plans to do should they be elected. I recently, on my Facebook page, addressed an issue that gives me concern. And that concern is that instead of debating the issues, the campaigns have devolved into personal attacks. I don't think that solves anything. You as a voter have the responsibility to educate yourself and go to the polls and vote. And if you do, even if your candidate doesn't win, you'll at least know that you have done your civic duty. I thank you. I encourage you to go vote, and I look forward to seeing you on the next Vernon Vibes.
Vernon Vibes is brought to you in part by United Water, the official water company of Vernon Township. United Water, involved in the communities they serve.
The Vernon Independent Retailers Association reminds you that when you shop locally, you're helping to build our community by supporting local employment and keeping your tax dollars in our community. Support the Vernon Independent Retailers who support you. Brought to you by The Copy Center, H&H Auto Parts, Healthy Times Market, Heaven Hill Farm, Lakeland Pool and Spa, McAfee Ski and Snowboard, Valley Paint and Hardware, and Vernon Tire and Auto Center. Come in, we're local.
Hi, I'm Shannon Sweeney. I've been a player or coach for most of my life, and I understand the need to keep our kids motivated and safe. As a parent and coach, I also understand the need to make sure our children are protected. That's why insurance is as an important part of the game as a good coach is. I've known my fellow coach, Wayne Dietz, for 10 years. I've seen him motivate and inspire players both on and off the floor. I've also seen him make sure that our children are safe by making sure that the teams are properly insured. As a coach, we don't often think about insurance, and when you work with Wayne and his team at D&H Risk Solutions, you won't have to. They take care of everything with honesty and integrity so that you can focus on what you do best, coaching your team to victory.